60 miles from Baghdad. That is how close those Sunni Muslim militants reportedly are from Iraq's capital. Their nearly unchallenged advance comes as the White House considers possible military options to try and protect the Iraqi government and stop those Islamic terrorists. The terror group is the state of Iraq and Syria. Well, they've already seized two major Iraqi cities and have taken about one-third of the country so far, and that's raising fears about the future of Baghdad. So what, if anything, can the Obama administration do to try and contain this growing crisis? Captain Bob Wells is a retired U.S. Navy captain, former national security advisor for Vice President Dick Cheney. Captain Wells, good to see you, and you certainly know about aircraft carriers and aircraft carrier battle groups. They moved the George H.W. Bush, is moving into the Persian Gulf. Could potential American airstrikes be enough to stop these militants?
Thank you, Eric. Not just potential airstrikes, but making sure we have the right capabilities throughout the region. What we're doing right now is imperative. We need to make sure that we have the right intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance capability. You just mentioned the USS George Herbert Walker Bush. Not just the air power on board that aircraft carrier, but the surface ships that we have along with that carrier strike group. We have two guided missile destroyers with about 160 Tomahawk missiles, USS Truxtun, USS Roosevelt. Also have a cruiser. We need to think about those cruisers and the Tomahawk capabilities they have on board USS Philippine Sea. We have to think about also the air capability we have in the region. The United States has a very strong posture. We need to rely on our air capability out of Al Udeid in Qatar, also in Incirlik Air Base up in Turkey. So we're doing the right things right now with regard to getting capability. We really should be ready tomorrow and basically make it quick with regard to a capable response capability option for the president.
Well, you talk about quick, but they're not making it quick. The militants, the terrorists, are making it quick. They're going down south really quickly, 60 miles from Baghdad. But the president yesterday afternoon came out and said, well, it's going to take several days, understandably, to prepare and plan for this. But why wasn't it planned for already? And is it too late? I mean, they're already there.
I don't think it's too late, but I do think we need to work with the Iraqi government and Prime Minister Maliki to essentially have particular conditions, political conditions, with regard to American support in a truly counter-terrorist objective. You just mentioned they're about 60 nautical miles from Baghdad. If we can work with the Iraqis as well as have the American capability there with the options available to the president to basically stop their passage, stop their line of communication in Baghdad, give the Maliki government a little bit more time to basically provide a counterterrorism response. It also provides us other opportunities to work in Al Anbar province, also work up with the Kurds up in Kurdistan.
And you know what's really troubling also is the involvement of the Iranians, obviously, of supporting the Shiites and Maliki's government. And there are the reports that one of the top Quds Force generals, General Qasem Soleimani, is in Baghdad advising the Iraqis. So how does this play out in terms of the United States relations with Iraq and the Maliki government when you got the Iranians there, and reports that that's the general right there. He moved down from Syria, where he was advising the Sunnis, advising Assad and dealing with that situation.
This is a very troubling move, not only with regard to the Iranian presence working with Maliki, but also the stoking of the Shia passions. As you know, Iraq is really three primary constituencies: the Shias in the south, the Sunnis in the northwest, and the Kurds up in the northeast part of Iraq. Stoking these particular sectarian passions with the Shia focus is not a good current situation. Also within his government, he hasn't been able to share power with the Sunnis. We had previous relationships with the tribal leaders up in Al Anbar province. Those relationships could be one of the keys to stabilizing Iraq in the future. But Maliki's got to listen to the United States. President Obama has to have his A national security game from this particular point on with regard to Iraq to stabilize this country, help stabilize this country.
Well, look, we're looking at a photograph of them shaking hands in the Oval Office right there. Bottom line, Captain, what went wrong?
Well, there's quite a few factors with regard to destabilizing situations in Iraq. Iraq is was in a very challenging political situation during the handoff in 2011. I think one of the starting points with what went wrong was the fact that we did not go the extra mile to secure the status of forces agreements. What we needed to do, although the Maliki government really did deny us that particular request to have that status of forces agreement, I understand from our former Ambassador James Jeffrey, as well as the Obama administration principals, that we actually needed to go one extra step to actually work with Maliki to basically insist that the United States had that posture inside Iraq. All we needed was 2,500 to 5,000 troops for counterterrorism missions. We're really good at those.
That's it? Captain,
Yes,
that's
sir.
it? That's all we needed to potentially stop this?
That's what I think. We needed a little bit more with regard to good intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, looking at having adaptive force packages on the ground, working with the Iraqi counterparts. Still another troubling development was the disintegration of the Iraqi army, especially in Mosul. And we worked very diligently over years to try to train the Iraqi army, provide that particular capability, give them the right capacity in order to execute their particular mission. But as you mentioned there, Eric, 60 nautical miles from Baghdad is very troubling. We have a power vacuum right now. It needs to be secured. We need to give the Iraqi Maliki government some breathing room. At the same time, we need to have some American quids with regard to future presence, also new relationship building to stabilize Al-Anbar province, and also this very troubling development with this ISIS, otherwise known as Al-Qaeda in Iraq, that Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi was part of.
Yeah,
and that's another story. That's also what
That's
went wrong.
another issue. He was in U.S. custody until 2009. Captain Bob Wells, thank you so much for your insight today.
Thank you, Eric.
And we'll, of course, have more on the U.S. response to this crisis. You can watch Sunday Morning Futures tomorrow with Maria Bartiromo at 10 a.m. Maria will be sitting down with House Armed Services Committee Chairman Congressman Buck McEwen of California. And I'll have an in-depth look tomorrow morning on what went wrong. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., right here on the Fox News Channel. Arthel?
It's going to be a good report. Thanks, Eric. So a major conflict in Iraq costing us here at home. Next, we're going to talk about how the crisis in the Middle East is going to impact us at the pump.
Okay, listen up. Everywhere in the menu, mayo, corn dogs, you are so out of here.
The complete balanced nutrition of great tasting Ensure. 24 vitamins and minerals, antioxidants, and 9 grams of protein.